Welcome to the Prosperity Playbook, Fundamentals for Family Business, where we provide board-level insights, real-world strategy, and practical advice for family businesses. I'm your host, Bryce Ferguson, and today we've got another great conversation designed to help your family business grow, lead, and prosper. In this episode, we'll be discussing prosperity beyond profit. As 2025 comes to a close, many family businesses are crunching year-end numbers and setting sights on a new year. But as we reflect on the past 12 months, we're asking, how do you define prosperity? Is it just about profit or something bigger? Today, our team breaks down how family-owned businesses can close the year with purpose, plan for 2026, and make an impact that goes far beyond the balance sheet. We're going to open this up with the Strategy Minute, and I'm going to call on Jan Southern. As we close out 2025, this is the time to tighten strategy, assess wins and misses, and prepare for 2026. Jan, what's one key area family business owners should focus on right now to position themselves for a successful start to 2026?
One of the best ways that family-owned businesses can prepare for the next year is to take a really good look at their budget for this year. How did they do against that budget? And what they can anticipate doing next year. Is it going to be the same? Are they going to grow? Or are they going to, for one reason or another, have a year that's not the same as what they had this year? And so the primary thing that I recommend they look at is what can you do to make it better? What can you do to grow? And what can you do to outline for your employees what their role would be in whatever your decisions are.
Thank you, Jan. Very insightful, and I'm sure that can help many people as they plan for the new year coming up. I wanted to welcome all the Ferguson Alliance business advisors, Jay Rosen, Brandy Merrick, Jan Southern, and Rob Ferguson, as we go into this next segment of the Prosperity Playbook, Inside the Issue. This is going to be our main panel discussion with our trusted business advisors. How are y'all doing today?
Great.
Wonderful.
It's good to see and hear from you guys. Any exciting updates to start off?
Looking forward to 2026. I'm excited. I can't believe that 2025 has gone already. It's wild to think about. But 2026 is on the horizon as we enter into the back half of the 2020 decade. That's nuts. So I'm excited to help our clients with that.
I agree, Brandy. I think, Jay, you would agree with me. It seems like the older we get, the faster these calendar months and days click by. It's hard to believe that we're even contemplating a year of 2026. I'm still trying to remember to write 2020. I like this time of year. I really do. Because it does give us time to kind of reflect on the past. It gives us an opportunity to also do a strategic reset. And then one of the things, Brandy, you talk quite a bit about is mindset. And I think when we get to the end of the year and we start thinking about the new year, that gives us an opportunity to shift our mindset for the new year. It seems like, I don't know, in the back half of the year, sometimes a lot of our business owners are playing defense, trying to catch up. How do we make that budget number? How do we get that extra sale? And that mindset shifts to now, all right, offense. So, how do we move into a more proactive manner where we're not just reacting to the time? So it gives us a time to set goals, not just the numbers in the P&L, but goals that really reflect our values and our purpose. I think that's helpful to do this time of year.
Love a good plan.
Yeah, right.
Yes. Ferguson Alliance talks a lot about prosperity. So I want to hear from all the advisors, as we advise family businesses, we talk a lot about prosperity, and especially we don't just talk profit. Profit's important. We discuss profit, but we talk more about the prosperity side of things. So what does prosperity really mean to y'all as advisors?
Well, I'll start off. To me, it is the wholeness. A lot of times when our clients think of the word prosperity, they translate that to wealth or profits. And to me, it's all encompassing of, our relationships, our peace with the business, our freedom from it. It's our ability to have a thriving organization that isn't a burden on the owner or the leadership or management. And it reflects the goodness of our business in the communities and with our employees. That's how I kind of think about prosperous businesses.
Well, I'll add on to what Rob said. I think prosperity means different things to different people. Some people, the wealth is the most important, and that's their only goal is to, you know, have a better income, better wealth production. Where you'll find someone else, and what's really important to them, and the reason they started their own business is to have the freedom to do what it is that they like to do. Maybe it's vacation, maybe it's travel, maybe it's just free time each day. And so, one person's prosperity might not be the same for someone else. And I think that's one thing that is important for us as we're working with a client to understand what is their prosperity, what is their goal, and to help them achieve that in the way that leads the company to be prosperous, but also fits in with what that business owner's definition of prosperity for themselves is as well.
I'd agree with that, Jan. In my own experience managing a family-owned business was that, that alignment and that feeling about what is going to be the financial freedom and how do they define that, and then what else do they find important in terms of driving the growth or the success of the business. So that's of course an important part, and a lot of things open up as a part of that flower opening, including the things that Rob's talked about, which include building the legacy of the business, the succession planning, investment in your own employee group, and then what contributions you're going to decide to make or can you make to the community that you work in. So all those things mixed together, and I'm sure we've all experienced different levels of all those things.
That's right, Jay. As you and Jan were talking, it came to mind. I'm working with a client right now on his succession plan. He's been in business for over 40 years and never taken a vacation. And so one of his assignments, his homework assignment, as we were working on it, was to take a vacation. And he took a week, and he came back, and the business was fine. And it worked well. I mean, the sun came up, and then the next homework assignment, a couple months later, was to take a 3-week vacation. And he was really worried and nervous about it, but his leadership team was lined up. He has good operating practices. And I just met with him, and he came back after that 3-week vacation, and his wife was with him. They're working on the succession plan together, and she reported that he only called the office 3 times in that 3-week period.
Wow.
Yeah, which was quite amazing. And he was disappointed. He said, yeah, every time I called, they wanted to know why I was calling. And his sales increased during that period of time. His leadership team said, you need to go on vacation more often.
More often, yeah, right. That's right, yeah.
When do associates get that homework assignment?
When you're no longer an associate.
Sounds like you got like 40 more years, right?
Yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah. Yeah. Well, since we are in the holiday season, I wanted to bring up this important question. I think this time of year, it's on everybody's minds, but how do you see philanthropy and giving as part of a family business's long-term strategy for legacy?
Well, I'll start off. I think that, one of the things that is important as far as being a good member of the community is to look for areas that you can contribute to that will at the same time, bring forward the things that meet with the value of your own company. And so that when you're looking at an opportunity to contribute, especially around the holidays, is to advance your own values and to make certain that also to take a look at what in your employees, what values do they have and what charities might be important to them so that they feel like they're a part of that contribution and that their input to you as far as moving forward with those philanthropic areas really take into consideration how they feel and things that are important to them as well. So that's something to take a look at.
Yeah, I agree, Jan. And research shows that it's family businesses that are the drivers of philanthropy here in our country. And I think one of the reasons is because at least our clients, that's part of their purpose. And purpose is that North Star of why we get up and do what we are doing. And philanthropy or giving back is just kind of innately built into the purpose of the company. And I want to say too, we've got a lot of clients that it's a good reminder. It's not just writing a check. It's not just the donation. It's the volunteering of hours. It's the volunteering of time to mentor others. And we have some great examples of clients that get involved in local communities here in Houston, whether it's the Houston Rodeo to raise funds for scholarships. Price, you've gotten our firm involved in a charity for diabetes. So the point being is what Jan, you said, is the giving is aligned to what is most relevant for your community and your employees.
Yeah, and I would say too, just like checking in on your employees too during this season. Is there, you know, anything that they need, anyone that is in a particularly tough spot, making sure that you're also aware of the situations that your team is in too.
Sometimes it gets hard. When I was a general manager of an organization, we had about 250 employees, and I remember I was always getting requests to give a $25 or $100 donation to a soccer team or a baseball team, or we just had a lot of requests for things like that, and I felt like we were contributing a lot of money into the community, but it was being diluted. So to pick up on Jan's point, what we did is every year we would identify maybe 5 charitable organizations, and we would put that to vote to all of the employees. So which one of these organizations do we want to adopt for the year? And it was great. And that's what we did. And one year we adopted a park in the community. And we donated money to the city for that park. We also put in, I don't know how many man hours, hundreds of man hours in cleaning it up and landscaping and things of that sort. So we did something good for the community, but it was a community where our employees were living. And our employees, to your point earlier, Brandy, they were engaged. They felt the purpose. They knew that, wow, we can contribute more if our company is also profitable. And so they got aligned to that pretty quickly.
And I think to
Nice. Thank
Rob's
you for the insight.
point, it's not always money that you can contribute. Sometimes those man hours that you contribute and those volunteer hours can end up being more valuable in the end than a financial donation. So, and you know where it's going, how it's being utilized, and it's fulfilling for the people who participate.
Yep, we have several clients that donate hours to the Houston Food Bank, the homeless shelters, things of that sort. I think that it just is. It's not only is it a feel good, but I think it's a being good, and that's what prosperity is all about. Is how do we be good as a community and as a business, an active business in the community.
Yeah, I would say keep it genuine. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, not every organization has a budget that would allow them to make financially significant donations, and so donating their time as an employee
Hmm.
group is usually really appreciated.
Yeah.
So, in my experience, we've done a lot of that.
That's a great point, Jay. I'm glad you brought that up. Any other advice on ways to give back other than monetary donations? What have you seen done with just helping spread awareness?
On the
Any
giving.
quick ideas for family businesses maybe starting off and just want to help give back and something else other than their time?
Well, the one thing that was popping into mind when I was, maybe this isn't exactly where you're going, but another example of giving, I was sitting on a very successful board of directors for a 100-year-old family business. And one of the requirements that they had for their directors is that each director had to, they called it tithing, tithe 10% of their board fees to a charitable organization of their choice, of the director's choice. So that was a requirement to sit on their board. And the other thing that was interesting, to your point, Jay, a lot of companies don't have a budget item for giving on their budget. Well, this family was had a holding company of numerous businesses, and every business that they invested in had to have a charitable giving line on their P&L, and it had to equal up to 10% of their profit. Um, and if they also had thresholds, they had to meet certain profit thresholds. But the point being is, it was full alignment from the operating companies to the board of directors. There was this sense of giving, and that was part of the values that this family had. It was their family values that they integrated into the core values of their businesses, as well as their governing board of directors. I found that a great example to get alignment, but also to give back to the community.
That's great. We'd love to hear what others are doing out there. So if you have anything to add as you're watching this, please drop it in comments and help spread some knowledge on how we could all give back to our local communities. All right, let's move into a hypothetical case study. So let's say we're advising a second generation family business that had a strong financial year, but is struggling to define what success looks like beyond the numbers. They want to strengthen their culture, deepen community impact, and prepare for leadership transition in 2026. How would you guide that conversation?
So the starting point for me would be where Brandy always starts her strategic workshops, defining the why. And I think in this hypothetical situation, the leadership has to reframe their success metrics, not to avoid the success metrics of profitability or productivity, but reframe it so that it includes things like impact, includes things like integrity or influence, and how can you measure that? And I think that would be the first place we would recommend to start.
Yeah, I want to get really clear on their why, like, and get a better understanding of why they're having a tough time defining what success is for them, and getting clear on the goals of the business, but also their personal goals. What are they looking to, you know, where do they see themselves? I think that the fact that the business is successful for the year is great, but that can all change very quickly. And so thinking about their long term why, purpose, fulfillment, it always comes back to the feelings. As much as our clients don't like to hear that and don't like to address that from time to time, it is so important to be clear and honest about how you're feeling, what you want and allowing yourself to explore all of that and kind of maybe say out loud some of the things that you might be afraid to say out loud. Not that you're really like committing yourself to anything that you're saying, but you have to explore what it is that you want, because until you do that, your culture suffers, your business is going to struggle. You know, you might be successful here and there in certain areas, but it's going to be really hard to maintain any kind of cadence or success without being very clear on where you're going, what you want, how you're going to get there. So you got to do the soul searching.
Yeah, I mean, we have found, Brandy, that companies with strong purposes, they actually outperform over time those that don't even have a purpose statement. Jay, you talked about the business assessments that we do. That's one of the things that we find out very quickly when an entrepreneur reaches a certain point of their ability in revenue generation or profit generation. They don't have a purpose. So they get to a certain threshold that's at their capacity. But now what we're trying to do is help the business expand that capacity beyond an owner. And the only way to really do that is really understand, why is the business even existing? And then leadership becomes purposeful. They're a purposeful leader, as opposed to just a leader of transactions or a leader of profit. They're purposeful, and then that guides their decisions. And these purposeful businesses will, time and time again, over time, outperform those that are not purposeful.
I guess from my perspective, you have to start with, how much work have they done on defining their vision? I mean, as a company and a group and an owner or whatever, I mean, what is it that we're doing? What's our main purpose? And then once you've got that, the alignment of everything else, yeah, you got to work on. So to me, it's hard. This is really hard stuff, and it's not easily done. It takes an awful lot of time, but it's time well spent. And I remember I joined, my second job after graduate school was with a relatively large public company for the time. And 2 years into my tenure there, they started this process all over again. It was very interesting to watch, and it was difficult for a lot of people to get comfortable with speaking their mind in that room. It started with the leadership team, and then it expanded to the second and third levels of people that were involved. And it took over a year to put the thing finally together and to publish it, make that public. So if you pull all that experience in your head together, one of the commitments, I think, like you're talking about, Rob and Brandy, is, when are you going to do that? And how do you make sure that you can renew it from time to time?
Yeah, and that renewal, I think, is, again, it's year end here, and we're talking about year end's a perfect time to be thinking about renewing that and reflecting on it, not just for the numbers' sake, but how are we doing against our purpose that we've declared?
Now, since this is second generation, do you see any friction points where maybe that their why is not aligned with the founder generation, and that causes them to feel like they're not successful?
Well, it could be. And I know in our workshops, we advise them to check their emotions at the door, back to some of the things that Brandy and Rob were saying. But I think, to your point, Price, it could be that they have a hesitancy to say really what they see as success, because they don't want to hurt the feelings of the first generation, or they don't want to go against what the first generation did in building the company. And so that may be a point of friction within their own mind. Whether it really would be with the first generation is to be seen. But I think you're right. It could be that's part of the hesitancy to say, yes, our success is because of how we see the prosperity and the purpose of the company versus what it was before we came along.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's very common to see between generations the definition of prosperity or even vision is different. It really is. And so one of the things that we do is we try to really teach our leaders, no matter where they are, first generation, second generation, we try to move them from being, we call it, move from being a bricklayer to an architect. In other words, move from being a doer to a builder. And if we can transition their leadership to stewardship, then the first generation feels a lot better about the second generation, that they're providing common stewardship to a common purpose versus trying to fight for their profit number or their distribution number or their credit card or their car or their office. So I think helping business owners move from transactional doing to actual strategic building and stewardship helps minimize or reduce that friction and turn that friction into collaboration.
Yeah, and I think, yes, at times we want clients to check their feelings at the door, but more like we want them to check the defensiveness of their feelings. We want to embrace people to talk about those things and to be open about understanding why. And I think that can help with the friction as well. Is that if both parties come into it like trying to change the other one's mind, then the friction's likely to stay there. But like you're saying, how can you be more collaborative on that? It's tough because it's not just a business relationship either, especially when we're talking about first and second generation. There's a whole other aspect to it. It's really challenging to have hard conversations in the business sense with your family and then go to a birthday party. And you feel so much internal conflict because you want to be present and excited with your family, but you're still irked about what you talked about yesterday while you were at work. And it's probably one of the biggest points of contention and challenge that we, from a personal standpoint, help clients through. Can be very, very tough.
And I think that's why we spend so much time on getting the family members united, purpose, and a common vision. Because once their business philosophy is aligned and once their purpose and vision is aligned, they're then united. And then that becomes the standard for making decisions. It becomes the standard for designing your governance processes. It becomes the standard of how you're going to manage people or how you're going to build your culture. I mean, once that, it doesn't mean you're going to always agree, and it doesn't mean your emotions are not going to get heated, right? But you have a common ground you can come back to and say, okay, well, I don't agree with your approach to this initiative, but I understand that you're trying to move us forward to achieving our long-term purpose. So that's the challenge, that's the difficulty, and it's also maturity and leadership, right? I mean, managers have to mature into leaders, and leaders have to mature into stewards.
And I think some of that difficulty in a family-owned business into getting to where Rob's talking about is sometimes it's hard for that parent to see that child of theirs as the steward, although maybe they're doing an excellent job. It's that separation is what we have to help them get to, is to see that individual as a good steward of the company and not your kid. That's got to be a tough adjustment for some people, and so that's what we try to help them get to.
Well, thank you for everybody's input, advice, wisdom on this Inside the Issue. I'm going to ask Jay Rosen to join me on our next segment called Leading with People. Today's focus topic is leading through purpose and culture heading into a new year. So, Jay, A people-focused quick tip is what we're looking for from you. The question is, as we move into 2026, what is one practical way family business leaders can re-energize their people and reinforce a sense of purpose heading into the new year?
You might try asking them what they think.
Is it that simple?
I think so.
Great. I
I
love
like
simple.
it.
I love KISS. Keep
Yeah.
it simple. Keep it
Silly.
simple. Yeah.
Hey, you
Yeah.
have
that's better than what I was going to say. Keep it
Well, we
simple,
all know what it
silly.
means.
you
We'll
gotta
keep it
listen.
on the PG term.
Right. I think that's very important in any business, but especially in a family-owned business, is to make the employees and the leadership feel like their thoughts and their opinions are valued, because sometimes you can, justified or not, you can feel like you're not important to the company. And just asking the question sometimes is one of the most valuable things you can do, is to say, you're important. I want to hear your thoughts and carry that forward, even if nothing is implemented that they suggested, for instance. It's important just the fact that they were asked. They feel like they're valued, that their input is needed or wanted. And so that really helps in moving forward how they feel like they're participating in the company.
Well, on top, not only that, but they actually are the ones with the answers.
Yeah.
The leadership has the questions. Leadership doesn't necessarily always, they might have some answers. The leadership has the questions. It's the employees, your vendors, your customers. They're the ones with the answer. If you want to know how you should improve customer service, go ask your customers. Go ask your employees who are delivering the product or delivering the service. That's where that's the real gold. And I think sometimes leaders just feel this pressure that they have to know it all. They have to do it all, be it all, and know it all. And what we try to do is help show our leaders how to ask good questions, how to engage with other stakeholders in the business, and how to collaborate effectively to come up with the right directions based on the answers that you got from your employees and your customers and suppliers, because that's the goal. They have the answers.
And thank you for your input. Jay, that's great, because that kind of leads me straight into my quote of the month and what I was going to talk about. You laid the framework for me.
I'm glad I could do that for you.
We had such great reviews from last month's quote with the football theme. I'm going to stick with it. So this next quote is from Nick Saban, great championship level coach, Calvary's coach in the NFL, college. I would imagine everybody's heard of him. If you haven't, you can Google him. There's pages. He's a motivational speaker, most famous for being at Alabama. But this is his quote: "If you want to make everybody happy, don't be a leader. Go sell ice cream." So I think there's a lot we can take from that. So I'm going to share a little experience from my life on a leadership lesson I learned. So back in 2014, I was coaching a college football program in the middle of a rebuild. Resources were thin, the competition was tough, and the pressure was real. So I did what I thought leaders were supposed to do. I pushed harder, I talked louder, and I demanded more. This was a young associate coach, Ferguson. I received a truth nugget that stuck with me ever since. And that nugget was, growth doesn't come from pressure, it comes from process. People that understand this, I really think that agriculture and farmers understand this, because crops don't respond to pressure. They respond to care. They need the right soil, they need the right water, the right fertilizer, and understanding that not every crop needs the same mix. Teams are no different. Some people need challenge, others need clarity, and a few just need to know that they're not invisible. Leadership isn't about forcing growth. It's about creating the right conditions for it. So my questions for you, the listeners: how healthy is your team's soil? Are you watering consistently or flooding inconsistently? And do you know what kind of fertilizer each person needs to grow? I think these are some important questions to ask yourself going into 2026 as you're defining your purpose. Because if your people aren't growing, it may not be a people problem, it might be a leadership problem. You can't force crops to grow, but a lot of leaders still try. So remember, leadership is farming, not forcing or selling ice cream.
I
All right,
would
so
say too
yeah.
that some people feel like forcing and pressure gets them results, but just know that it's not going to last forever.
No. All right. The moment everybody's been waiting for. We keep it at the end to make sure everybody listens to our whole podcast, but it's the Rob Report. Okay, so Rob, we're going to go into this. We're going to stick with the theme of the episode. So wrap it up on a personal question. As we wrap up 2025, what's been the most rewarding about the work our firm has done this year?
I think living up to our purpose. Truly, I mean, we've been talking about that. It's very rewarding to see, for me to observe workshops or to be involved in family board meetings, to see how we're living up with our own purpose, building leaders into stewards, building companies from transaction to prosperity, and then watching our whole team grow as a team. So I think just living that out has been very, very rewarding for me. And I'm really looking forward to 26 because I think we're just going to keep doing more of that.
Nice. Now, we've talked a lot about prosperity. This is Ferguson Alliance. You're Rob Ferguson. You put the Ferguson in it. I'm just tagging along. So our mantra, our motto is we help family businesses prosper. You've touched on it earlier, but how do you define prosperity, especially beyond profit and loss?
Oh, well, again, what I was saying, it's more about being holistic in how we are being good. It's not just about doing, but what's our being? How are we creating leaders? How are we contributing to the community? You said it in your little segment. How are we growing our people? That to me shows a healthy, prosperous company. It's not just about the P&L. Because when we talk about success here, we don't start with the P&L. We start with the purpose, because it's the purpose that gives, I think, our numbers the meaning, right? It's what gets us up in the morning. It sustains our momentum. Earlier on, one of us was talking about even when the metrics don't show it, because some external events happen, we've got tariffs, we've got competition, who knows what happens. So maybe our P&L isn't behaving exactly what we want, but we know we're still purposeful and making a difference in this world in some way possible. So that's how I see it.
Looking ahead, what excites you most about 2026 for our clients? Can you peek open the curtain a little bit and maybe share some new products or services Ferguson Alliance is going to be offering up? Anything new, exciting that you see maybe trending for 2026 for our clients?
Well, for me, I'll just start from a macro level. We've had several conversations with some local bankers here and their economists, and I think we got a great environment for 26 and beyond for business. There's a lot of, and I'm talking about Texas. There's a lot of optimism around construction, which hasn't been so optimistic. So a lot of our clients are in that industry. I have some clients in the industrial side. I think that there's some positive issues and efforts going on in there. So I think the economy from a macro standpoint is really going to position family businesses for growth. I think for us, we're looking to hire another 3 advisors. We want to bring qualified advisors to the team, like the one sitting here. So that's exciting. And we're also, we haven't announced it yet, but since you asked, I'll go ahead and mention it, that we're going to put together a CEO roundtable and hope to get that launched sometime in the first quarter next year, where this would be for our client CEOs and or prospect CEOs that they can come in a structured and facilitated manner, have conversations like this with their peers to help them become better stewards of their company, how to help them become more prosperous and not just driven by the old P&L. So those are some exciting things that I see for next year.
That is really exciting. Exciting for our clients with the CEO roundtables. Also exciting about adding more advisors, talking about growth at Ferguson Alliance. Any kind of qualifications or non-negotiables or traits you're looking for in Ferguson Alliance advisors?
Well, yeah, everybody's got to have at least 10 years of experience in a leadership role in a family business, whether they former family member like Brandy or a non-family member like myself or Jay or Jan. And then certainly I'll call it a good steward, a good servant leader, somebody that wants to give and has some sort of subject matter expertise that our family businesses are looking for.
Awesome. And if you are interested in the CEO roundtables, learning more information, or being on the RSVP list, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can reach out to us at hello@ferguson-alliance.com. Send us a quick email and we'll make sure that someone gets back to you. All right. The fun section, guest spotlight. We are going to highlight one of our advisors here. Brandy is one of our senior business advisors. What makes her unique is that she actually started as a client before joining the team. It's a full circle story that really embodies what we mean when we talk about prosperity beyond profit. But I'm not going to steal all of her thunder. I'm going to let her talk about it. So Brandy, you've lived both sides of this relationship. Talk us about it. What drew you to make the transition? Give us the details.
Yeah, okay. So let's see how I talk through the details. Yes, started as a client, was not excited about being a client. I always tell our clients that I probably the first 6 months of our engagement sat there thinking I have a lot of other things I could be doing this time. I know what we need to do. We just need to listen to me and then we'll be well on our way. I don't understand why we're taking this path. And so it did. I would say in a lot of our clients came around way faster than I did when I started the process. But yeah, so started as a client. Our family was just, we were all in different places and pages and had different ideas of how to keep the business sustainable and what we should do from there. And so we needed somebody to help us get aligned and to help us get organized and get out of our own heads and get out of our own egos, myself especially included in that. And so we worked closely with Rob for many years and it evolved over time. It took us a while to really be able to be open and honest about what we wanted, where we wanted to be, what our goals were, what our purpose was. And so ultimately decided to, myself personally, I really, we preach business first family and family first business. And yes, our business took the business first approach. But for me personally, I wanted to have some separation between what I did all day and my family life. And so very passionate about people and helping people. And I thought, what better way to do that than to help people that have been on the same path that I've been on and can understand. I feel like I kind of have a unique perspective because yes, while it was my family's business, it was my husband's family. And so it was like, yes, I'm a family member, but also I'm kind of like one step removed. So able to kind of be in this space of like being an employee and having a good relationship with the other people on the team, of not exactly being like the daughter or the son. And so I feel like I can really lean into that as we work with clients to understand where everyone's at, how they may be feeling, and how to best help them move forward. And always my goal is to help people understand what makes them feel fulfilled, what makes them feel purposeful. Life is very short. It's too short to spend time at work hating life. And so how can you best enjoy 85% of that time, we'll say? You're not going to like it 100% of the time, but how do you get to at least 85% or so enjoying what you do? And so that's my passion. That's my kind of where my purpose stems from, is don't hate your life every day. How do you how do you enjoy what you do?
Brandy, it's such a great story. And your family ended up, I'll try to remember, it's many, many years ago, but define prosperity as the ability to run a business that serves your life, not one that consumes it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think once you and your husband and your father-in-law started really getting centered around that, that helped bring some clarity on what the next step was going to be, family business. But I really like that definition that you all came up with, is, prosperity is the ability to run a business that serves your life. It doesn't, like you were saying, consume it.
Yeah.
So,
And, I think part of that consumption just came from all of us feeling like we had to be the ones with the answers. And, we kind of touched on this today already. And when we finally took a step back and said, okay, you know what? Actually, we're not the smartest people in the room, nor should we be. Let's go find some other people that are way smarter than us. We owe that to the people that work here every day to check our own selves and say, look, what's the best thing for this business? And it really, a lot of those conversations came around like, there's way smarter people out there that would really thrive with the opportunity of taking this business to the next level. And so, yeah, part of that, defining that prosperity, was like, let's create more prosperity for other people, and give them this opportunity to take this further than we'll ever be able to take it. We had to say, we have gotten this as far as it can go, but we recognize it can go further. We're just going to be beating our head against the wall trying to figure that out. So we found some way smarter people.
Yeah. So now trust your team and watch your company thrive, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, and now that you're here at Ferguson Alliance as a senior business advisor, what would you say is your area of expertise? Talk to us about how you best serve and help our clients. What's your background and what you bring to the table and how you can add value?
Right. Well, again, I love people. I love to talk to people. I love to get to better understand what motivates them, what they're after. I am, and I know that I have to watch this, but I'm also a fixer. So while I'm not trying to fix people, but I am trying to, again, help them all understand working towards a clear goal can make everyone feel very fulfilled. And so I gravitate towards the people projects, any kind of project that involves working with a management team. I love that. I love coaching. So I have some coaching clients. I really enjoy that, helping people understand, again, different perspectives, what's driving people. We do our behavioral assessments, which I also love to help everyone connect the dots between this is who you are, this is why you do what you do. The short answer to your question is really anything that involves people and getting excited about people and getting people excited about what they do and how they can be a contributor to that. I guess you also asked about some of my past experience that lends. I have managed people a fair amount of my career. And I do love that. I would say, if anything that I miss, I do miss managing people to an extent.
You just need your own associate.
Yes, yes, yes. But yeah, I have managed people a lot through and managed a lot of corporate, staff around finance and production planning, customer service, things like that. So again, just helping people understand where they are in the organization, how they add value, and how to build upon that.
That's great. I'm going to try and sum that up for our viewers, because I've gotten to watch it. Well, there's just so much, and people are so different. They're so dynamic with different aspects, which is why I've named you the culture coach. If you follow Ferguson Alliance on social media, you all know that I call Brandy our culture coach. But I've gotten to learn and grow just to see kind of what Ferguson Alliance does by watching Brandy in these strategic workshops that she does. I've gotten to be an observer of her strategic workshops that she does with several of our clients. She definitely meets the clients where they are, which is great. She does leadership training for executive leadership teams and management teams, and executive coaching. Those are the big highlights. Like she mentioned, behavioral assessments. We can offer those out to anybody, and she does a great job, not just administering the assessment, but explaining what it is and what you can get out of it and how you can apply it and how you can interact with other people once they've taken that behavioral assessment too. And that just helps strengthen their relationships and communication and their working capacity. So yeah, since I have deemed you the culture coach, that can be a tough concept to define in the family business culture. So what does a healthy culture look like in action?
Well, a healthy culture in action is going to be consistent. Every organization is going to define their culture differently, is going to have a different culture. But I think the biggest key to the success is consistency of whatever you've declared it to be. That it's coming through everything that you do. Your team can feel it, your customers know it, your reputation backs it up. That is like the ultimate goal as an organization sets out to have a healthy, vibrant culture, is that it is known in everything that you do. So thinking about, are your actions aligning with what you're saying, with your values? Are they really driving what the organization is about and what they're doing? Would be, I think, the main thing.
Consistency. Okay. Consistency. Consistent culture.
And authenticity.
And authenticity. That's very important. Yes.
Or it won't be consistent if you're not.
No, because
in it.
People can read through fake authenticity.
Yes.
All right. So I did mention I observed some of your strategic planning workshops, and one thing that came to my mind that I view as being very difficult, it comes very natural to you, at least from me watching you. But while you're facilitating these strategic planning workshops, how do you help leaders move from vision to execution?
That part's usually not too hard. They want to execute. It's getting them back from execution to the vision. Once they get the vision down, the execution part comes relatively easily if they are aligned with it. But I would say the bigger task is getting people to back it up and think about the vision and think about where the organization wants to go, the bigger picture. And then once they can get oriented around that, then the execution portion of it starts to be easier. I would say the big differentiator in that is making sure that you have a plan and that it's measurable and that you have some time, some dates nailed down on when you want to accomplish those things, or else then you do run the risk of not being able to implement what it is that you've spent your time creating. You got to have some accountability.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Brandy. Thank you for sharing your story and your perspective. If you'd like to, you're sweating. It's your mental exercise workout this morning. But if you'd like to hear more from Brandy, feel free to reach out to her. Her contact information is on our website, and I'm sure we can drop it in our comments and notes wherever we're posting this. Or you just reach out to me and I can get you in contact with her. I can also fill you in on some of the services we've talked about that she offers. So Brandy, thanks again.
Thank you. I'm a self-proclaimed
yeah.
rambler scrambler. So
Well, it's okay. It's okay. I was expecting some more of this. She's very animated when she
I've been
talks, which
holding
is a
my
lot of
hands
fun.
down,
She's
like-
been sitting on her hands this whole time. As you wrap up your own business year, we'd love to hear from you. How do you define prosperity in your family business? Share your thoughts in the comments. Message us on LinkedIn. Send an email to hello@ferguson-alliance.com or DM me on X. My handle is @CoachPriceFerg. Ferguson Alliance's mission is simple. We help family businesses prosper. If this episode added value, share it with a colleague or friend. Leave us a comment with ideas for future topics and be sure to like, rate, and subscribe so we can keep bringing you more conversations that matter. That's it for today's episode of the Prosperity Playbook. Thanks for listening and make sure to join us next month for more insights, strategies, and stories to help family businesses win across generations. We'll see you next time.